What's up, good movie lovers, and welcome to a movie review for Thor. Mason,
God of Thunder.
Feel the thunder.
Is that the tagline, really?
It says on the poster, it says "Feel the thunder." So all the movie reviews here are spoiler-filled. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, please go ahead and check it out if you want to listen to the
Loki
review.
is evil.
Loki is a bad guy. Why did you say that? It's ruined now. So we're gonna give our rating first, and then we're gonna get into the films.
It was a good summer blockbuster superhero action movie. I will say this: I'm upset I did not see it in 3D.
Now, dude, that's saying a lot.
I know that. I never thought I would say that. And
you're recommending 3D?
I'm actually recommending. I might go back and see it again in 3D.
Regular price
3D.
Wow.
Just because the Asgard stuff, it's so. I was sitting there watching it all, this gorgeous looking alternate universe, and I'm like, this would be amazing in 3D. This would be unbelievable.
Okay.
And like in the end, that whole like little space weird thing, that's all 3D candy.
That would be totally fun in 3D.
Yeah. So
now I went in thinking I don't want to like it.
Yeah.
And it won me over. I'm not blown away by it, but I'm really happy that it is as good as it is. I'll do regular price. I won't go 3D, but I'll do regular price.
Well, I want to say this. I'm not saying it was the best superhero movie ever, but 3D because it has that gorgeous Asgardian scenes that I think would have looked amazing in 3D. So that's why 3D exists, is to see stuff like that.
Summarize the story really quickly.
Thor is a Norse god. Opening backstory about there's the ice giants, and they had a horrible war against the Asgardians, and Odin, Anthony Hopkins with the eye patch, defeated them, and they caused a truce, and he stole some mystical coffin jewel thing that like was powering their world, and that's not really very clear. I'm sure the people on the boards will light me up for that, but they'll explain it to me. So
there's only a few hundred Thor fans out there.
Right, exactly. So you just got yourself in big trouble.
I'm totally gonna get ripped out there.
Exactly.
I don't want to piss on anybody's comic book love, but I know growing up, Thor was
never.
I never reached for Thor on the comic book stand.
Yeah.
But you know, when you look at the rack and you're like, Batman,
Wolverine,
X-Men, and like awesome, great, cool powers, and
Thor. The opening shot is Queen Amidala doing a twister scene, storm chasing, and then big lightning storm, and then boom, they hit Thor, and they knock him out and cut to Asgard.
Thor defies Odin, restarts kind of this war, and as a result, Odin banishes him to Earth. On Earth, now Thor doesn't have any powers. He has to figure out how to get them back, and then S.H.I.E.L.D. shows up, and then basically has to reclaim it, and that's the whole movie. He has to somehow get back to Asgard and stop all the problems that he kind of started. Going in, what were your expectations?
I didn't have any expectations going in. I didn't know what to expect. I'm not very familiar with the Thor mythology, except I know that he's the god of thunder. I know that Loki is the trickster god and his brother, and I know that Odin's the father and who's an Avenger. I don't know what his character is like. I don't know what he's like as a person. I don't know how true what they did in the movie was to what the comic book character is, but what they did in the movie was awesome. And what they did was he comes to Earth and he just acts like himself. He acts like a god. Like he acts like someone from like the Middle Ages would act. Like it's hilarious. Like there's that line like the Renaissance fair is in town because the gods all show up in their god outfits and they're just walking around. He's like, more meat, He's like smashes the cup. What do you say to Stellan Skarsgård about your ancestors would sing songs about you today? That's great. They played it that way. It was so smart.
The comedy here. One of the writers is Don Payne. I guess he's written a bunch of Simpsons. Going in as a writer and as an audience, you got to think, okay, Thor is this very classical kind of a hero.
Right.
And nowadays, we've spoofed the hell out of that kind of genre.
Yeah.
So are we going to be able to take them seriously if they play it straight?
Yeah.
And they kind of decided, well, we're going to be aware that it does lead to a lot of humor.
Yeah.
And his just playing up, how dare you treat me this way? Or,
do you not know who you are dealing with, mortal? I am Thor, the god of... And they shoot him and he hits
and he falls over. This mortal body has become weakened.
He needs sustenance. He needs a box of Pop-Tarts.
Right.
It's really smart the way they do that because it comes out of character. It's character driven. It's like, this is who these people are, and it's the juxtaposition that makes it funny. It's the shift in context that creates the humor. It's what naturally would happen if you brought these people into this world. It works. It works.
Dude, such an awesome point. And that whole fish out of water, he's like Encino Man. His personality doesn't change, but when you put him in this environment, it's just going to be a clashing of, like you said, context.
Right. And I like that they didn't do any stupid, like Encino Man, what is this odd television thing? I was also worried they would go with a whole, maybe he's got amnesia and doesn't remember who he is. I'm so glad they didn't go that route. They played it straight and it worked. It worked great.
Thor, amnesia, gets a job and he's going to get married to Portman, and then Thor, remember who you are.
Remember who you are.
And then all the flashback comes,
I have the power! Yeah, exactly. I thought Act 2 had some pacing problems. I thought Act 1 was awesome. That first battle scene on the ice plant was wonderful. All his buddies kicking ass with all their different weapons and all different styles, and you know, Loki with his magic, and the other guy with the axe, the Errol Flynn-like guy with the swords, and the cool chick.
And when they're fighting like the methed out Avatar creatures.
Sorry,
they look like they're burnt out Avatarians.
Totally do. You're right.
There's like a universe crossover somewhere in that.
I think so. Yeah, exactly. Well, it is one of the 9 realms, I believe.
There you go.
Could
so
be.
Now, after the Avengers movie, it'll be even the mega crossover mashup.
Thor with the hammer when he's just whipping it around and causing the earthquakes and is kicking people's butts, and then just does the thing where he slams it down and the lightning and the it was great.
Yeah.
And he flies through the creature and busts out the other. It was good. It was well. It was Kenneth Branagh.
Yeah, Kenneth Branagh
directed this. Like
Hamlet, Shakespeare, obsessed, professional, like super thespian, directed this.
And he did a bang-up job, man. He did a balls-out job. It was great. It was great.
It kind of makes sense because the Thor universe is very similar to like a
Shakespearean. It's very Shakespearean. Yeah, I was just thinking that same thing. That whole with the court and the king.
So you can imagine he was basically looking at this as Shakespeare plus genre, Shakespeare plus this universe.
Yeah, Odin is it's a very Shakespearean king-like character,
right.
And yeah, so yeah, that totally works.
And it's a son who disappoints the father and now has to go down to Earth. I think the big problem here is that while he's on Earth,
that's one of the seventh realm.
The seventh realm. While he's on Earth, he doesn't earn his redemption enough.
Yeah, it kind of just comes because he's willing to sacrifice himself to the giant, really awesome, like, fire robot.
I call him the little brother of the robot from the day that they're still.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like the ultimate protector weapon.
Yeah, exactly. He's just a big defense weapon.
I kind of wish there would have been something a little established where if Thor can defeat him, it means some kind of a bigger setup. Like he's like this obstacle towards character growth. You set up this whole theme of father and son, disappointing the father, being prideful, can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, and that opening coronation scene, he's acting like a total He totally has some hubris.
You got to knock that guy down.
Yeah.
And basically bring him down to the bare bones. So now we're talking, he has no powers. It's basically like if you take a rich guy and you make him a bum or whatever.
Right.
So now he's got to base himself on the qualities that count. And now he's got to encounter some events and people that are going to bring that out of him. And it feels like the conflict he faced didn't challenge him enough so that he would have justly discovering these things about him.
Yeah, it was a little rushed. I thought there wasn't anything along the way until that point.
Right.
And that was it. That scene where he's, okay, I'm going to sacrifice myself now. I have no powers. You fight him. I'll get everyone to safety, and then I'll go throw myself in front of it and die for
I want him to be like the guy who's just so, I'm the I would never sacrifice myself. I'm more important than these little people. And to see that look in his face, that's like, you know what? These people are better than me. They've shown me that character is better than this, and I got to sacrifice.
Maybe that was the problem, because he wasn't actually that bad a person when he started off. He was still a good guy. He was a hothead, he was impetuous, and he thought he knew better than his dad and everything. But at the same time, he was doing it for Asgard. He had the community's best interests at heart, and he never really put himself above on a pedestal.
Right.
He wasn't that egotistical. He wasn't that big an a-hole.
Yeah.
He was always a hero. And so the transformation wasn't that great.
Gotcha.
He got a little more heroic.
Right.
You know, but he didn't go from being an a-hole to being a hero. He went from being a hero to a better hero.
His father really lets him have it. You have failed by the gods of my forefathers. I take away your power, and like each arm the metal comes off. And his dad's like really ripping him. Either you got to tone down the rip, or you got to tone up the betrayal or the thing that he does wrong, so that it's justified. And his father just sends him down. In my wisdom, you will learn something on Earth, and you will become a wise king.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly.
And then he meets the characters here that can bring this stuff out of him.
And that's the thing. The characters he met on Earth didn't bring anything out of him, and that was all forced. Yeah, him and Portman, that whole sub-story, that whole romance, it pissed me off. And here's why. I think audiences are a lot smarter than Hollywood gives them credit for. Why do we need a tacked-on romance? If you want to have a romance and it's organic, great. The love between Tony Stark and Pepper Potts is great because that's developed over the course of 2 movies, out of character. These people clearly have spent a lifetime together and care about each other a great deal, and their interactions are great. Here, Thor and her are thrown together. They have one night of hanging out.
A campfire
hangout, and that's it. I think they speak 2 pages of dialogue the entire movie, and we're supposed to buy all of a sudden that he is in love with her?
Right.
And why? Well, I thought they were going with it, what it looked like, and they didn't. They chickened out. They didn't do this. It looked like Portman was totally for him and just wanted to, when she kissed him at the end, like she wanted to jump him.
Right.
Like the whole movie, she's giving him the eyes, man. Like the dude
eyes.
The dude is cut. And he's a hero. He's a man's man all the way. What woman isn't gonna melt over that?
Exactly.
And I think the way they should have played it was like her kind of throwing herself at him and him knowing the effect he has on people. Because he is a Norse god. He's the king's son. Like the prince, I'm sure he gets all kinds of Asgardian tail left and right. And he totally should have played it. He should have played her. That would have been good. Let him be a playboy. Let him be a
I love this idea. This would have been so genius. And then it leads to him thinking back like, oh, I kind of her over.
Yeah, is that right? Totally.
And she turns out to have all these qualities that he's missing, and she helps transform him.
There we go. That's real character development that comes out of real people and real interactions.
Right.
This romance that comes from nowhere, why do we need that?
It's like George Lucas said, if the hero kisses the girl at the end of the movie, it adds $10 million to the box office.
He's whipped by Natalie. Thor gets whipped by Natalie Portman,
She has
man.
the whip of the gods.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And it's not even earned. This guy doesn't act like he could get anyone on ass. Your suggestion is awesome. I wish they would have made him more of kind of, well,
not a playboy,
but someone who's just like kind of...
Yeah, was used to getting tail all his life because he's a big hulking god.
He just
knows
it off. He plays it off.
Exactly.
Just like, sorry, I'm not into...
I know that I affect you this way. I do this with all the women, and so I don't take it personally.
With his voice, that would have been like, everyone usually falls for her, so the tables are turned. And almost like a Superman in the sequel chooses to give up his powers to be with Lois Lane.
Okay.
So maybe there could have been something similar where being immortal allows you to experience mortal wisdom and emotion and everything.
Right.
Being a god is just kind of, it's like when you're rich, you forget what it was like to struggle and appreciate money.
Yeah.
So now you go back to that level and, okay, I see what my dad Odin is trying to teach me so I can become a better king. With Kenneth Branagh being the Helmer here and someone who knows Shakespeare and story and character, you can see his control and influence here. You can tell there was also maybe a voice from StoryCorp of, hold on, it's summer. We don't want people to think too much.
Yeah.
Let's not make it so complicated. The comedy really stood out. It was almost like maybe if it got too serious with character development, that would have gone, but it wouldn't have because Thor is who he is, so the comedy would still be there.
Again, the comedy, it's the same thing with Iron Man, where the comedy comes out of who these people are. Iron Man's funny because Tony Stark is funny, because Robert Downey Jr. acting like a playboy funny.
Yeah.
Acting like that is great, and that's why Thor works.
It's like if you strongly define the character and their responses, no matter the situation, they're going to authentically respond to that.
Right.
And here, like you say, a strong medieval type of guy in the modern setting, it's going to be comedy.
Yeah.
I want another drink, and he slams it down, and just all these great little things. And it didn't feel forced. They really captured comedy well, but they kind of neglected a little bit of making him earn the journey that he has in the end.
Exactly.
And then he goes back in the end to save his kingdom. How'd you like that?
These are small complaints, because overall I like the movie, and this is kind of like nitpicky stuff. The whole thing with Loki and his machinations were needlessly convoluted. Still not really making sense to me after the fact. Like, why it even mattered that he was actually an ice giant baby. Why does he not look like an ice giant baby? If I'm born a Filipino and I got raised by a Jewish family, I'm not going to grow up looking like a Jew. I'm going to look like... I'm Jewish, I can say that. I'm not gonna,
you have the right.
I have the right. I'm not going to look like...
I reserve my Polish references for later.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. He's going to look like an Asian kid. I'm going to look like a Filipino.
Because later when he touches the box, he turns into the...
Okay, and what the box, the blue energy, what that even is and what it means, I still don't know. And then how the bridge was destroying the planet and why he tricks them. He gets them up here to ruin his brother's coronation, and then he decides, apparently he wasn't plotting for the throne all along. He didn't want to be king, he just wanted to show his brother up. But then he gets his opportunity, and he's king. And so he convinces the guy to come and kill his dad. But that was a trick. He wanted to use that as an opportunity to kill him. And now he's going to destroy the planet. But why does he want to destroy the planet? To prove himself?
For his father, who is against doing stuff like that.
Well, that was the whole point. His father didn't want to just start a war with them. And if they could just destroy the planet, why didn't they do that?
At the beginning. Tell us about the creative endeavors that are going on here.
We're doing Zen and the Art of Waitering at blogspot.com. You can download a free sample of the book at smashwords.com/book/view/13249. So you can download it for your Kindle or for your iPhone or your iReader or your whatever, and all your just HTML or $5, you know.
And you'll always have Jonas at your side, ready to give you some insightful wisdom.
There you go. Yeah, my insightful wisdom.
Instead of smoking a cigarette,
right,
read a passage from Zen and the Art of Waitering. And get centered again.
Exactly. Or then have another cigarette. What do I care?
Another cigarette.
Become a fan at facebook.com/Zen and the Art of Waitering.
And StoryCorp, if you're listening,
hey,
we're always available
for rewrites.
So thanks for hanging out, movie lovers. Until next time, always remember that StoryCorp gives you more of what you pay for, so choose your movies wisely. And as always, long live good movies.